Hey guys, welcome to the start of a new weekly reading vlog. So it is Monday today, it's early afternoon, it's around 2:30 and I am having a really good day, which is weird because I used to really hate Mondays and now I actually quite enjoy them. I have already finished my main bulk of work for the day, which was editing last week's vlog. That is currently uploading. I've also just like a random small thing that I'm really enjoying. Like you guys know, I've been working out almost every day for the past month and a half. However, I have not changed my diet. So in terms of like progress physically, I'm definitely feeling the benefits as opposed to seeing the benefits. But I did notice today when I was getting dressed that I do seem to have lost a little bit of weight, which is very exciting and has boosted my mood a little bit. And my next task is to go out and pick up a little bit of shopping. But this week it is DoTheThingAthon, which is a 1 week long readathon hosted by my good friend Ashley from Frolic Through Fiction. This readathon has no prompts. The purpose is to work on reading goals that you set at the beginning of the year or whenever you set them, really, it doesn't matter, and to take this week to make progress towards your goals. So for the first time since I've had a booktube channel, I did not make a goal video this year because I start off with really good intentions but I literally never revisit my goal videos and then they always end up being like a huge failure, so I don't even go back at the end of the year and see how I did. So I just thought this year that I wasn't going to bother at all. But there are still a few things that I have been aiming for this year, and one of the ones that I've started a little bit is my 2021 Unhaul Project, which, actually thinking about it, is probably just going to be a recurring thing as opposed to just happening over this year, because it is something that I can't do every single month with how my TBR works with Bookopoly and also read-alongs. But if you guys are unfamiliar with what my Unhaul Project is, I have made 2 videos so far, and the second one was a TBR cart tour with all of the books that are going to feature in this project. Now there are going to be more books throughout the whole thing than in that video, because I do from time to time find a book on my shelf that would fit the nature of the Unhaul Project. But essentially I have a big old cart of books, and those are books that I do still kind of want to read, but I either don't think they're going to be new favorites, I want to read them because they're well regarded and well talked about, so I want to be able to like kind of have my own opinion on them, but I don't foresee myself loving them because they're not my kind of thing, or they are something like a contemporary or a thriller, which I do really enjoy in the moment as I'm reading them, but after I've read them I don't really see much value in them personally, and they are the kind of book that I will just unhaul, enjoy them in the moment but never really think about them again. So I do have 2 Unhaul Project books on my standard May Bookopoly TBR, which I'm going to be reading this week, and the first one I have already started, which is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. Now I went for this one first because it's the shortest one, it is only like just over 300 pages, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be the easiest one to read because I have heard it is incredibly hard hitting. I started this last night just before I went to bed. I'm 33 pages into it and I can already say it's proven to be a little bit of a difficult read. So this one follows 2 boys. It's actually dual perspective, which I did not know going into it, and I was a little bit confused because the synopsis makes out that it's about this boy called Adam who has ADHD, and he has landed this elective. I don't really know what an elective is. It's like a US school thing. I think it's like an optional module kind of situation, but he's going to be assisting the school psychologist, and the psychologist gives him the task of tracking down this boy called Julian who has been dodging the psychologist. And Adam is real happy about this when he realizes who Julian is, because it turns out that Julian used to be Adam's foster brother. So going into this I kind of expected it to be from Adam's perspective, but it is dual perspective, and the first couple of chapters we get are from Julian's perspective, and big trigger warnings in this for child abuse or neglect. Like I don't really know the extent of it right now. I'm only 30 pages in, but from what I can gather from those 30 pages, it seems that Julian had a pretty like standard childhood up until, I'm assuming, his parents have died and he's now in the care of his uncle. So it starts off where like he's being pulled into a meeting by the principal because he's been skipping his English class, and the principal threatens to call home if Julian doesn't kind of like get his shit together and attend his classes, which Julian is actually really scared of. And then like I'm only 30 pages in, so this is not spoilers at all. The bit that I got up to last night after having a confrontation with his uncle uncle. Julian went back to school and had to see the psychologist, and he avoided it and started skipping classes again. So I think that child abuse is going to play a big role in this. Also, the way that it's like being narrated, I feel like things are happening in between the chapters. Like Julian had a conversation with his uncle, and this is only page 12. So once again, no spoilers, but the chapter ends with Julian having a conversation with his uncle, and it's kind of like a very like unsettling conversation where it's very clear that the uncle has all of the power in this relationship, and it kind of seems like his uncle is lecturing him, but it's like the tone of the scene is very, very sinister, and it ends with the uncle saying go get it, and then the chapter just ends, and then we pick up the day after where Julian has gone to school. So I do think like there are things missing between the chapters, and we're not getting like a full picture of what's going on at this point. But the chapters in here are really, really short. The writing style is like super readable, and I don't think it's going to take me too long to finish this. So this is my first task. After this, I will move on to the second book on my Bookopoly TBR, and then after that we're just going to be mood reading from the cart, so it could be absolutely anything. I do also have a big old stack of book mail that I'm really, really excited about. I have opened one of them because it came in an Amazon package and I wasn't expecting anything, so I was wondering what was in here. And this one is a gift from the wonderful Ash, and the gift note says, just keeping you current, maybe this could too be a part of your vamp week. So thank you so much, Ash, for this. Ash really wants me to make a vampire reading vlog and has so far been supplying the material, although I will say Ash was kind of building this around Empire of the Vampire, and I don't think that that is going to be a themed reading vlog kind of week, because Empire of the Vampire is hella chunky, so I don't think I'll get much else read while I'm reading it. But I do have the other book that Ash sent me with vampires in, which I think is over there somewhere, and I also have the Black Dagger Brotherhood. So a vampire like romance themed reading vlog could definitely happen. But the book that Ash sent me is The Secrets in Shadow and Blood. When I first opened this, I saw the colouring and I thought it was the Blood and Ash prequel, which isn't out yet, and I was like, have I got an arc of this? Like, how did this happen? But no, this is The Secrets in Blood and Shadow by Lana Pacherzik. This is the first book in a spin-off from the Fae Guardians series. The first book in the Fae Guardians is called The Longing of Lone Wolves, and those books are supposed to be like The Witcher meets Beauty and the Beast, about fae that shift into wolves. And yeah, this is the first book in the vampire spin-off. That is all I know about this, but a lot of people in my Patreon group have been really, really loving the Fae Guardian series, so I'm really excited to dive into that one. And then providing I love that one, which I'm sure I will, I'm also excited to get to this one. Also just noticed that this has illustrated pages, which are very, very beautiful, and I appreciate them a lot. So thank you so much, Ash, for this one. And then the other two I have, I am assuming they are both kind of the same thing. I have ordered both of these, so let's see which one is which. This one is the last book in the series, and that is Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb in the large paperbacks. Look at this, it is a brick. This one, I think this could be the biggest book in the Eldlings as a whole, and it is 802 pages, so maybe not actually. I'm sure I've read books longer than that. And this one's a little bit smaller. This one is the next book we will be reading for Eldlinglong, which is The Golden Fool. I really, really love these big paperback editions of these, and these are actually in really good condition as well, because the copy of Fool's Fate that I have has a cracked spine so it can sit open, and I actually really, really love that, but not to the degree where I will be cracking the spine myself. But these are the 8th and 9th books in the Realm of Eldlings as a whole, and books 2 and 3 in the Tawny Man trilogy. And I did read book 1 in the Tawny Man trilogy, Fool's Errand, last week for Eldlinglong, and if you guys have read that and want to know full spoilery thoughts, there was a live show for it yesterday, which I will link up here for you guys. But I'm so excited to continue on with this series, and I'm really, really sad because the Tawny Man trilogy is the last trilogy that was printed in these covers, which are my favorite Robin Hobb editions, but they are kind of like the vintage fantasy style, and I think Fool's Fate was published in maybe 2004, so the remaining 7 books in the Realm of the Eldling series are a lot more recent, and because of that they did have a cover change, which is sad because I really, really love these covers.
This is how it begins, on a Saturday night in the Manchester light, with a drink in your hand. Don't be telling me twice, cause you know it's inside. You can feel it within. Gotta dive right in. Get a feel like any of your mind, oh. So go out and live. You feel the butterflies, they tell you it's right. Gotta dive right in. Heaven hold us in ecstasy. It's contagious. My heart is sweet. Embrace this new rush, and we will be forever dreaming. Now can't you see? This is how I begin. Get a feel like any of your mind, oh. So go out and live. You feel the butterflies and they tell you it's right, oh.
Good morning, I'm getting a very early start to my day today. It's 10 to 8, but I've been up since 7. And because the days are longer, because the sun's rising earlier now, I've been waking up every morning at about 7 a.m. and then thinking about getting out of bed, but then thinking like, why would I want to be awake at 7 a.m? I got nothing going on that needs me to be awake at 7 a.m, which is fine. And I still feel like that even though I'm awake now. But the problem is that if I go back to sleep, I'll only wake up again at 10. So I woke up at 7 this morning, decided to get out of bed. I've made myself a nice breakfast of porridge with a spoonful of manuka honey stirred in and a banana, and I'm going to continue to read a list of cages. I used to start my morning every morning like this with coffee and a book, but then I realized that when I start my day slow, my day continues to be slow. For me to be extremely productive, I need to get out of bed and start doing something straight away. And I also don't like working out in the morning very much, because there's nothing worse than lying in bed and thinking that the first thing you have to do is high intensity interval training. But also my quality of exercise is just not as good in the morning, and I definitely work out better in the evening, like a couple of hours after I've had a decent meal. But I'm awake and I'm not doing anything. I'm not working till 9 a.m. I refuse, and I don't actually have that much on for the beginning of this week. The majority of the things I have to get done are going to be happening at the end of the week. So I'm going to be having a slow morning, probably regret it later. But I'm currently on page 156 of this, and I really enjoy it so far. It is definitely hard hitting. Trigger warnings for child abuse and neglect in here. It's really heart-wrenching to read. We do have some great representation in here because one of the main characters has dyslexia and one of them has ADHD. I personally can't speak for any forms of those representations, like whether the representation is actually good or not, but I will say that there is very good representation of grief in here. So as I guessed yesterday, Julian's parents have died, and there was a line that really resonated with me as somebody who has lost a parent. And losing a parent is something that I feel like, I can't say definitively, but I feel like it's something that you never truly recover from. In a couple of weeks it will be 3 years since I lost my mom, and it still fucking hurts. Like, it's the most intense and awful thing that I've ever really fucking experienced, and it's like with me every single day. It never gets better. Somebody said to me once, it never gets better, it just gets easier to handle, and I think that that is 100% correct. But I want to see if I can find that line because it really spoke to me, and I'm somebody who's not sensitive to things that actually apply to me. So when I read about books that feature parental loss quite heavily, they don't actually make me cry or anything like you think that they would, but it's something that I guess we're getting real deep with this now, to get through my grieving process, which is still an ongoing thing. I kind of distracted and dissociated so that I could function, and because of that I don't think I ever truly grieved properly. So I think that that is why I can read things about parental loss and see things on TV about parental loss and not get ridiculously emotional. So it says, when I was little, thoughts would always fill my head because I knew as soon as school ended my mom or dad would want to hear them all. When you know you're going to tell someone everything, you see your day through your eyes and theirs as if they're living it alongside you. But when you don't, it isn't only not seeing double, it's not seeing at all, because if they aren't there, then you aren't either. And that just really like resonated with me. I do think that it deals with parental grief quite well. So far it's just a really hard hitting and moving book, very difficult to read in parts. The child abuse elements of this are both kind of like skirted around and also quite explicit and detailed depending on what part of the narrative we're in. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'll probably be finishing this out today, so I can't wait to come and let you guys know my full thoughts.
And see the spark. sparks ignite. You know that it's right. Heaven hold us in ecstasy. It's contagious. My heart is sweet. Embrace this new rush, and we will be forever.
Hey, it is 9 p.m. now. Hamilton has just come in from outside, so he wants my attention. But I have just finished A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it in a way in that I think it's a really good book. It made me really angry throughout this because this poor boy who's being abused and neglected at home, like, he has absolutely no support system, and all of the adults, with the exception of 1 in this book, or 2 actually maybe, are just shit. They're so shit, and it made me so angry reading this. I almost cried at a few points as well. We all know I'm not a book crier, last week's vlog as an exception, but yeah, I nearly teared up at a few points, and I do think it has a lot of great moments surrounding grief in here. As I've mentioned, there's dyslexia and ADHD rep that I can't speak on, but the grief representation really resonated with me at multiple points throughout the book. But I gave it 4 stars because I think that the ending was a little bit rushed. Throughout the last 4 or 5 chapters, it just seemed to like jump through all of the elements of the plot that hadn't been tied up yet to kind of conclude those before the end of the book. So I do think that it was a little bit rushed, and it actually reminded me a little bit of Perks of Being a Wallflower. I love Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's one of my favorite books, and this is like different in tone and writing and stuff, but in just how we have this young boy who isn't doing very well, doesn't have any friends, that is taken in by this group of seniors who will help him to open up and like take care of him in certain ways, and I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of it as well. So this one was on my Bookopoly TBR. I think it was to read a TBR veteran, and that is my first book for DoTheThingAthon complete, and also my first book for this week's Unhaul Project. So when I'm doing my Unhaul Project, there's not like a 100% guarantee that I will unhaul all of the books that I read for it. The reason that on my Unhaul cart is because I think that they would be books that I would unhaul when I read them. This one, I'm not too sure at the minute. I think I'm going to keep hold of it for the time being, but I do think it will be one that I unhaul eventually, because as much as I enjoyed it, I don't see me ever rereading it. But really good book, and if anything I've said sounds interesting, if you're okay with the triggers of like quite detailed child abuse and also parental loss, then I would recommend you give this one a go if it's your kind of thing. Moving on from that, it's I don't know if I told you the time, it's 9:30 p.m, but I'm actually gonna go to bed because I got up at 7:30, as you know, and I'm getting a little bit sleepy. I also did a core workout today, and my core is my weakest area, and honestly I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get out of bed tomorrow or not, but I am just gonna go up and read in bed. So my next book is the other one on my Bookopoly TBR, which is We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. I actually have no recollection anymore. Oh no, I do. I was gonna say I have no recollection of what prompt this is for May's Bookopoly, but this one is to read a book for my Unhaul project, which is what I'm doing right here right now. So this one is another young adult contemporary, but this one has a slight sci-fi twist, as we are following, I think, 4 main characters in here who are all from different like high school groups. So we have like an overachiever, a slacker, and an outcast, and they have come together because all of the humans on Earth have been told that in 2 months an asteroid is going to hit and wipe everything out. So it's about them, I'm assuming, like coming together and kind of dropping the labels that they've associated themselves with and people have associated with them in their lifetimes before the world ends. So I actually have a couple of books on my Unhaul cart that have a very similar premise to this, like a young adult contemporary with an end of the world kind of theme in there, where I really think the books are going to focus on the contemporary elements. So it's definitely something that I enjoy in concept because I keep acquiring these books, but I haven't read any of them yet, so I don't know if I enjoy them in practice. But I'm not sure how much of this I'm planning on reading tonight. I'm just going to go get in bed and read until I get sleepy, but those are my current plans. Good afternoon. I have been and got my nails done today, so we have a very pastel-y set this time. I'm feeling, while we're in spring going into summer, I'm feeling the bright colours, and also since I dyed my hair purple, I'm more into like pastel-y shades because it looks better with my hair. But I don't know what to do. I'm on page 128 if we all looked up, and I'm just really not feeling it. So we are following 4 characters. I think it was only 50 pages ago that they found out that this asteroid is very possibly going to hit Earth and obliterate the planet. So they're all like kind of connected to each other somehow, very vaguely. Like one of them is friends with another one's sister kind of deal, like very vague connections, but they all go to the same school, they all kind of know each other, and they all have their own stuff going on. And it is kind of getting to the part now where it is about what they're going to do knowing that the world is going to end, like pushing themselves out of the boxes that they've been placed into, not going along with the status quo anymore, and deciding what they're going to do with this last like 8 weeks of their life. The only problem is that I'm really bored. I'm really bored. There are definitely some problems with this as well. When was it published? It was published in 2015, but so far I have encountered fatphobia, some pretty offensive, I would say, racial stereotyping. There is a trans character in here, like one of the minor side characters, and the way that they were introduced made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And the last chapter I've read had like real unnecessary random slut shaming in it. So I don't feel like it's the kind of book where these problems are going to come to the forefront because of the way that it's written, and I don't think it's the focus of the story at all, because I don't mind reading about stuff like that if it has a point in the story. And then to be honest, if I wasn't like really bored with this story, I would just persevere to the end and then highlight in my review like, yeah, I enjoyed the story or whatever I felt about the book, but it does have its issues. But I'm not enjoying it, and that just like unnecessary slut shaming just really made me feel like I want to put this down. So this could possibly be a DNF, but I don't know, because at the same time I haven't had a lot of low rated books this year, and I have DNF 2 books. Like I don't DNF very often at all. I have already DNF 2 books this year, and this one is quite an easy read as far as it goes. I mean, I have just read 2 chapters without really paying very much attention to it, but I feel like this may be a DNF. I don't know, because it wouldn't take me long to read it, but then I could also read something else that I will possibly enjoy more. So I guess I'm thinking about DNFing this. I really don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. When I came and turned on the camera, I fully intended to DNF this book, but now I'm kind of like, should I continue? It won't take me long to read, that's the thing. I'm a third of the way through it now. I just don't really have any desire to read it, and some of the characters' perspectives are just really boring. All of this is quite boring, and now I'm having an existential crisis on camera. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I think what I might do actually, because my dinner is going to be ready in 20 minutes. So I'm going to have dinner and watch some New Girl. Then I'm gonna work out. I have the BTS ride that Ali Love did a couple of years ago queued up, and I'm really excited. Then the Friends reunion is on at 8 p.m. and I'm playing Fortnite tonight with Ryan. So I guess I'm gonna see how much of this I do manage to read. Like in between all of those things, when I have time, I'm going to be reading, and we will see how much I get done. If I'm making a lot of progress, meaning that I will finish it quite quickly tomorrow, then I'll continue and finish it. But if we get to the end of the evening and I'm still not even at page 200, I'm gonna give it up, because it's gonna take me way too long to read this week. I want to read some other stuff, and I would rather read something that's a little bit more compelling and I'm enjoying a little bit more, or not even, doesn't have to be a good book, it just doesn't have to be so boring that I'm literally not interested, because I could be reading something else. So if it's quite obvious that I'm just going to drag my feet through this, avoid reading whenever possible, when I have 3 days of reading sprints in a row coming up, then I'm going to put it down and I'll pick something else up. But I will definitely keep you guys informed on what I decide to do with that.
Now can't you see?
Properly, and I need to get myself out of this dress, because while it is very pretty, it is uncomfortable for daytime wear. So I thought I'd do a little vlog update first while I still look put together. But before we get into the books, have you seen the Fortnite announcement? Have you seen it? In the weirdest like collision of interest ever, Fortnite have put a Mistborn skin into the game. So like I got out of bed at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was playing Fortnite last night up until past midnight. So if I'd have gone to the store, I would have seen it. before they announced it on Twitter and I found out. But they've included Kelsia as a skin, and that is so weird. Like, apparently the CCO of Fortnite is a big fan of Brandon Sanderson. He lives close to Brandon Sanderson, so there's a Kelsia skin in the game. But like, that is so obscure, because while I enjoy playing Fortnite, it's definitely a social thing for me, and I do really like the game. I've always loved like online shooter games. I used to play Call of Duty. I've also played a bit of Apex, so I do like that kind of game, mainly for the social aspect, because I play it with my friends and it's fun. But like, the demographic for Fortnite, like the majority of Fortnite players are very young, like 12-year-old kind of people. There's put Mistborn in there is a choice, but I definitely support it, and I got out of bed at 2 in the morning to buy myself that Kelsia skin. I only have 50 V-Bucks left now, but I bought my Kelsia skin and I'm really excited for the next time I play. But in terms of reading, I have chosen to DNF We All Looked Up by Tommy Willock, which, as I've just finished Bookopoly, is probably in the stack. This is my last month's TBR that I've left here because it will also be my wrap-up stack when I film that on Monday. So I decided to pick up another book, and I didn't really know what I was feeling, but I'm still doing the Unhaul Project. It's still DoTheThingAthon. So I went for a thriller as a little bit of a change of pace from the young adult contemporary I've been reading, and also because I quite fancied an audiobook, because I have 3 nights of sprints coming up now. So I'm hosting sprints tonight, I'm guesting on Steph's tomorrow, and I'm also guesting on Ashley's on Sunday, and I can get fidgety during sprints. I have to be in like a mindset to sit there and read. But if I'm listening to an audiobook, I can do my diamond painting, and I normally turn the camera down so you can watch me diamond painting as opposed to staring at my face, and that relieves the pressure a little bit. Like, I'm not even awkward on camera or awkward live or anything. I don't know, it's just like a kind of weird feeling. So I'm not really in the mood to like sit and physically read. So I've started the audiobook for The Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll, and I'm only 45 pages into it. I listened to 2 chapters yesterday, but this is about a woman called Annie Finelli, and she is weird because she comes from a middle-class family, but the way she acts, it's as though she comes from like poverty when she really doesn't. But she's about to marry this guy who's like big on Wall Street, so she's kind of social climbed her way up through marriage, and she's very judgmental of other people from what I've gathered so far. She's constantly judging what other people are wearing and like what they look like, which I think comes from her sense of insecurity about coming from, even though it's middle class, like an environment that isn't as upper class as the one that she's currently in, and having to be very perceptive to fit into that environment. But she's not a very likable main character right now. This is about her past, because she used to go to this exclusive private school called the Bradley School when she was a teenager, and I'm guessing something bad happened there, and she's invited a documentary producer to film her wedding so that she can tell her side of the story of whatever happened at this Bradley School. So chapter 1 was establishing her in the present, and chapter 2 was how she ended up at this private school and like her early days there, and then chapter 3 I think is going to go back to present. So I think it's going to alternate chapters between the past and the present, but I have no thoughts on it yet, apart from I don't love the main character. But with thrillers, that's not such a big deal, because especially with one like this where it seems like the main character's done something quite bad, you're not really supposed to like her, I don't think. So that's where I'm up to with reading. It is, I have no idea what time it is. It's like 1:30. Yeah, I'm gonna go and get some lunch. I could do with going to the butcher's, but if I can push that off till Monday, I would really like to. But I do have to go to the shop for some other bits as well, and I also want to get on with editing Bookopoly, and then I have sprints, I think, starting at 7. I really should check what time I scheduled those for, considering like I'm hosting them and I have to be there. So it's gonna be a very booktube and reading heavy day. I also need to prep the restock for candles actually. So as you can tell, I have quite a few things going on, quite a few things I need to get done, so I'm gonna go and crack on and do that.
The fire deep inside, the time of your life, you know that it's right. Heaven hold us in ecstasy, it's contagious. My heart is sweet, embrace this new rush, and we will be forever dreaming.
Good afternoon. so it is Sunday, it's just gone afternoon. Oh, well, it's nearly 1 p.m. But I just thought I would pop in and let you guys know what my thoughts on The Luckiest Girl Alive are so far. I have 100 pages left. I'm on page 298, and I'll be joining the final DoTheThingAthon sprints tonight, where I'm hoping to finish this. I've got like an hour and 45 minutes left of the audiobook. But like, this book is fine to listen to. Like, I'm enjoying the audiobook while I'm listening to it. I've only been listening to it on sprints, and I've been diamond painting while I do it because I struggle with audiobooks. I need something to do like with my hands. But this is my first finished diamond painting, and he's so pretty. I do have like another smaller one that I've also started, but that was the first one that I ever bought, and I bought a smaller size just to like try it out, so I don't think the picture's actually going to be any good. But I'm surprised at how amazing this looks. Like, he's so cute. So I finished that last night while I was listening to my audio, and yeah, it's like fine to listen to. I'm enjoying it enough. The narrator's fine. I will say that all of the characters in here are the worst. Like, they're all obnoxious, hateful, abusive, or just generally unlikable. There's a whole lot of entitlement from the perspective of the main character, who's this like 28-year-old woman who's going to be marrying this rich guy, which I think I've already mentioned. But essentially she's been social climbing her entire life, and a lot of the past narrative when she's at this private school is about her wanting to be popular, and like everything she does, she's doing it because she wants to be in with the in crowd. And I do understand that while we're reading this, like a lot of her behaviors are from the events of her youth, and you can kind of trace some of her behaviors to specific trauma that she's endured through her life. But all of the characters in here are awful. I think the only characters that I don't mind, that are okay people, are the main characters' parents. And then there's also, you know, the character, I'm not gonna say who it is because like they're a prominent character, who seems pretty decent, but the main character is like entitled, manipulative, a complete snob. But it's a thriller, so like you're not always gonna get likable characters. In fact, most of the time I would say you get unlikable characters. The main thing with this book, the main mystery, is what actually happened at the school. So in this present perspective, as we're moving up to the time where she's making this documentary, where for the first time ever she will give her account of what happened, and then the past timeline is like leading up to the actual event, like when she started going to this school, leading up until this thing happens. So the main mystery in here is this thing that happened, and I've already found out what the thing is that happened, and I'm so kind of like I'm disappointed, but not because of the thing. I'm disappointed because we're in the mind of this main character. It's not multi-perspective or anything, it's first person from this girl's perspective. So I assumed that like the thing that happened is something that she did, and it happened because of her. But the thing that happened doesn't really have anything to do with her. She was just there at the time that it happened. So I'm like, why am I reading from this awful, horrible, manipulative, obnoxious character's perspective if the thing that happened isn't even really about her? She was just there at the time. I'm a little bit, I want to say disappointed, because it was just something that I completely didn't expect, and not in a good way. I will also say as well that that happens not early in the book, but it's happened. I have 100 pages left and I've already found out what that thing is, and that's the only thing that I wanted to know. So for the last like 50-ish pages and for the next 100 pages, I don't really understand what the point of this book is. I don't know what's going to be coming. I know that all thrillers don't have plot twists, but I really like thrillers with plot twists, so I'm hoping we get some throughout the end of this book. But otherwise, yeah, I just don't really understand the purpose of being in this awful character's head if this thing is not like directly tied to her and her behavior, her actions, or her existing. It's just something that happened, and she happened to be there at the time of the happening. There's a lot of happens in like one sentence. There's a whole ton of trigger warnings in here as well, because some of the characters are unlikable, a lot of them are truly awful, and I can't give you all of the trigger warnings like verbally because one of them is a big spoiler for the thing that happens, which is the main mystery of the book. So I'm going to give you a list now because I've wrote them all down. I have half a page of triggers. I'll let you know what the content warnings are now, but the one that I can't say I will put at the bottom of my description box, so that if you do want that additional trigger that's a little bit of a spoiler, you can go down there and check that out. But the content warnings we have are homophobia, racism, and homophobic and racist slurs, anorexia, diet culture, disordered eating, rape, victim blaming, substance abuse, and fatphobia. So everybody in this book essentially is truly awful, to the extremes of being awful. Yeah, but that's where I'm at with that. I don't know what I'm gonna do now, because I was going to edit this vlog up to date, because next week, like, it's the weekend and I shouldn't be working, and there's actually nothing that I have to do. But next week is Ryan's birthday at the end of the week, and he's coming here at the beginning of the week, and we're gonna have like just a day hanging out, and then we're going up to Newcastle for a day trip. So I'm essentially not going to be able to work Tuesday or Wednesday, which means that I'm going to have to film my video for next Thursday, tomorrow, which is the day when I normally edit my vlog. And I was going to get some editing done yesterday, but then Curtis and I took a really spontaneous trip where I needed to go to the butcher's, and he came with me, and then he said, do you want to go to the garden centre? We went to the garden centre, wasn't too exciting, so he said, do you want to go to the next garden centre that's closest to us? So we went there, and it was like a little bit more exciting, and then he said, do you want to go to a plant shop? And then we went to a plant shop. So I ended up out for most of the day and in sprints, and I did fully get up, like I've just been scheduling Bookopoly, and I did get up fully intending to edit this vlog to save myself some time tomorrow. But it's really nice outside, the weather's really nice. I think it's about like 17-18 degrees, so I kind of want to go outside and get some sun. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do now, but I'm going to make that decision. It just seems such a shame to be inside when it's so sunny outside. So I think I'm gonna go sit outside for a couple of hours, but like I said, I am in sprints later on today as well, and I still need to work out today and like make dinner and everything and have all of that sorted before sprints start. Hey guys, it is 10:30 and I just finished The Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll. I gave it 2 stars. I gave it 2 stars. The way that this was setting up towards the end, I was getting excited. It was subtly, not subtly, but it was explaining something about somebody else, like another character in the book, and I was thinking about all of the traits of the main character that I kind of felt matched up to this thing that was being discussed. So I was gearing up for this epic plot twist that just like really never came. I don't really understand why the book ended why it did, like I kind of do, but then I feel like we needed just a little extra bit to just flesh out that ending. And I generally just found the whole thing underwhelming, because with thrillers, if they're told in this perspective, I like them where you find out that you have an incredibly unreliable narrator that's been lying to you the entire time or something like that. Or I like them, if they're in first person, I like them to have a slow build up to something really dramatic, so maybe like the events unfolding in real time and like the story of how it gets there. And this, I just kind of didn't really understand the point. I didn't understand what this book was trying to do, and it could definitely be a me thing. I'm not especially knowledgeable about thrillers. I don't read a whole ton of them, and when I do, it's not really to critique them or talk about them critically. It's more just for enjoyment purposes. Like, I love the drama of the plot twist and all of that, and being on the edge of my seat and wanting to know what happens and getting into the mystery, and I just didn't really get that with this. I will say that in terms of listening to it as an audiobook, I enjoyed the narrator and it was fine to listen to. Like, I didn't feel especially bored, and I did mark it up through my rating system, which is Owlcrate created by G at Book Roast, on the intrigue, because I was quite content to just sit and listen to this entire audiobook, and I wasn't particularly bored while I was listening to it. But I was diamond painting at the same time. Like, I was doing something that occupied my hands, because I have to have like my mind and my hands occupied, but not in a way that like takes my attention away from the audiobook in any way, because I do struggle to focus on audiobooks. Sadly, a disappointing one, but this is my Unhaul project. I'm glad that I read it, because I actually really enjoyed the last 3 nights just doing something as mindless as diamond painting, because the reason why I love diamond painting so much is that it is a way for me to kind of zone into something where I'm not thinking about anything else, only because I'm listening to the audiobook. So it just keeps me in a kind of, I don't really know the word, like a therapeutic state, I want to say, where I'm just doing this thing, and in that moment I'm not thinking about all of the things that I need to do tomorrow or next week, or all the things I should have done today, and it's just kind of like a little bit of a wind down for me. So I'm glad that I listened to it based on that. Thriller wise, not my favorite, was left like not really understanding the point of what was going on. So I have also read some other stuff today. When I was out in the garden, I accidentally read like 200 pages of The Wicker King by Kate Ancram, but I'm not going to be discussing that in this week's vlog. I'm going to go and read, there's like 100 pages of it left, and I could stay up and read it tonight, but I think I'm getting quite tired. I'm currently in the final sprints for DoTheThingAthon, and I'm not sure whether I'm gonna stick it out to the end or whether I'm actually gonna bail after this sprint and head to bed, because I didn't get a whole ton of sleep last night. I'm feeling kind of tired, and I do have quite a lot to get on with tomorrow. So regardless regardless of if I finish the book tonight or not, I will recap The Wicker King for you guys tomorrow. But I've had a pretty chill time. I had a great time with Do the Thingathon. Thank you so much, of course, to Ashley for hosting this readathon, and I managed to read 3 books off my Unhaul cart. And I said earlier in this vlog that I was probably going to sit on a list of cages for a while before I decided if I was going to unhaul it. I'm just going to unhaul it. It's going in my unhaul pile after I film my wrap up tomorrow. Still really loved it. Just as I said, I'm never going to reread it, and I enjoyed it in the moment. Really glad I'm read it, but I'm not holding on to that. That is 3 more books successfully unhauled, and I have done the thing-a-thon. So that is it for this week's vlog, guys. Next week will be the first of the whatever-a-thon vlogs. I have no idea, actually. I normally plan out like what I'm reading and when throughout the month ahead of time. I haven't done that. I have no idea what the beginning of June is gonna hold for me, but I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog. If you've made it this far, I think it's quite a long one. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.